Okay, number lines are easy. Let's get to work. Question 1. Point N not shown is 1/3 of the distance from point B to point A. Okay, so from point B going to point A, 1/3 of the distance. We have 18 numbers, right? Because 10 to -8 is 18 numbers. So 1/3 of that is going to be 6, right? Because we have 18 numbers, 1/3 of that is 6. So we have to take 6 from 10, going that way, we get to 4, right? So that's point N. Okay, cool. What is half the distance from point N to point A? And we're like, okay, well, from that to that, we have, what was that, 12? So half of 12 is 6. So right there is going to be halfway. That's halfway from N to A. We're good? Question 2, point N not shown is 1/4 of the distance from point B to point A. So start at B, going to point A, we're in 1/4 of the distance. We have 16 numbers, 1/4 of 16 is 4, so we got to go 4 numbers that way, right? So there we go, that's point N. Cool, what is half the distance from N to A? Well, going N to A, we want to go half the distance. Look, we're at 6 to -6, so there we go. That's easy. Question 3, point N not shown is 1/5 of the distance from point B to point A. So B to A, we're going 1/5 of the distance. We have 20 numbers to go through. 1/5 of 20 is 4, so we're going 4 towards A, 10 to 6. Cool. What is half the distance from point N to point A? Okay, now we have 16, because 6 to -10 is 16. We want 8 of that. 8 of that gets us to -2. Rock and roll. Okay, question 4. Point A is halfway between point B and point N not shown. Okay, so point N is somewhere out here off the number line. Oh no, it's a little tougher, but not too tough. What is the location of the point halfway between point N and point A? Well, point N's out here somewhere. So where is it? Well, 10 to -4 is 14 spaces, right? So 14 spaces to the left, or further negative from -4, will get us to -18. And that's where point N lives, at -18. Okay, cool. So what's the distance halfway between point N and point A? Well, this is 14 spaces altogether. Halfway would be 7 spaces that way and 7 spaces that way. And shockingly, it is the same place. No matter if you start going that way or start going that way, you end up at -11, and that's our answer. We're good to go. Question 5, similar to question 4. Point A is halfway between point B and point N not shown. Okay, so where do we go? We got 20 spaces to go from 10 to -10, so another 20 spaces would get us to -30, and that's where point N lives. What is the location of the point 1/4? 1/4 of the way from point N to point A. Okay, so we're going 20 spaces, and 1/4 of 20 is 5. So we're going 5 spaces from point N towards point A. We're going 5 spaces because 5 is 1/4 of 20. So what do we got? When we got -30 plus 5, we got -25. And we're good. Question 6, point N not shown is 1/3 of the distance from point B to point A. Okay, so we're going 1/3 of the distance, and it's difficult now because it's in sevenths, but it's not that difficult because we're just going 5 to 4. 5 to 4 will get us to 9, right? There's 9 spaces between +5 and -4, even though they're sevenths. Still, that works, and we're going 1/3 of the way, so that's 1/3 of 9 is 3. So we're going 1/3 of the way to 2, right? 1, 2, 3, and we'll have 6 from 2 to -4. That makes sense. We're good. That is point N. What is half the distance from point N to point A? Okay, so we got 6. We're going 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We're good. Question 7, point N not shown is 1/4 of the distance from point B to point A. So 7 to 2 is 8, 2 to 6 is 8, right? 2 sevenths to 6 sevenths, that's 8 spaces. And we're going 1/4 of that, so we've got 2 spaces to go. 1, 2. And is that 0? What is half the distance from point N to point A? So N to A is 6 spaces, so we have to go 3, so it's -3 sevenths. We're good. Point N not shown is 1/5 of the distance from point B to point A. What is half the distance from point N to point A? Okay, so 1/5, and we have 10, right? Because 4 to -6 is 10 spaces. We're going to have 1/5 of that, so that's 2. So that's where n lives. What is half the distance between 2 and negative 6? Well, that's 8. And half the distance of 8 is 4. So we got to go 4 spaces. And there we go. Question 9. Point A is halfway between point B and point N, not shown. Okay, so another one, N lives over here somewhere. What is the location of the point halfway between point N and point A? All right, so if it takes us 8 to go from 6 to negative 2, this will live at negative 10/7, right? Because it takes us 8 to go from 6 to negative 2, so another 8 will get us to negative 10/7. I'm just going to leave that as negative 10/7. That's okay, that's an improper fraction. I'm cool with that. What is the location of the point halfway between point N and point A? So negative 10 to negative 2, well that's 8 spaces, so we want to go 4 in each direction, right? 4 in each direction will get me to half. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That makes sense, right? Because 10 minus 4 is 6, or negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6, so good. Negative 6/7. And question 10. Point A is halfway between point B and point N. Okay, so another one where N lives out over here off the number line. What is the location of the point halfway between point N and point A? Well, if we're going from 3 to 6, that's 9, so another 9 would get us to negative 15/7. That's where N lives, negative 15/7. And we want to go halfway between negative 15/7 and negative 6/7. So we have to go halfway, which is 4.5, because 4.5 is half of 9. So 15 minus 4.5 is 10.5. So there we go. Halfway would be 10.5/7, right? 10.5/7, because 4.5 plus 6 gets us to 10.5, and 15 minus 4.5 gets us to 10.5. Okay, so we're good. But we're like, there's no 10.5/7 in our answers. So we got to convert this because, you know, why would there only be one step in a difficult problem? Number lines are easy, but this one is a little more difficult. Okay, so let's get this over to 14ths, right? Because that's our first step. We see some 14ths here, so maybe that's helpful. So multiply each by 2, the numerator and the denominator. Whatever you do to the numerator, you got to do the same thing to the denominator, or vice versa. 10.5 times 2 gets us to 21/14. 21/14, oh, that kind of can be simplified, right? 21/14, let's divide them both by 7. What do we get? We get 3/2, which equals 1 1/2. And remember, we're negative. So that's it. That's our answer. We're good.